You think your sales process is really great? I'm here to tell you it needs work. It's become very in vogue to talk about sales motion as opposed to a sales process. And in reality, they mean the same things. But nailing your sales process on a very fundamental level is going to be foundational to your long-term success as a business, as a company, as an organization, and certainly from a revenue generation standpoint. But I think some people get the foundational stuff wrong. Maybe they never set it up. Maybe they're new. Maybe they've never done it before. Regardless of the circumstance, nailing the foundation of your sales process is incredibly important and shouldn't be scary. So I'm going to walk through the very basics of a sales process, or for those of you who are much cooler than me, the sales motion that will actually scale with your business. So let's assume you're starting from scratch or you're willing to do a reboot of your sales process. These processes as a repeatable, consistent, and hopefully scalable process is a cornerstone of how you improve over time, how you optimize, how you grow your bottom line by growing your top line. And ideally, what I'm going to talk about works for everyone from owner-operator, single sales people. I'm just out there trying to sell my services to the larger community, all the way through larger teams, because if it works for one and you do it correctly and consistently and you have discipline around that, it will scale to a larger team. I'm not going to go and get into building out a process over time. I'm just going to talk about how you start. What are the fundamental basics of all of this stuff? Your current activity might be working, it may not be working, but let's assume you want to make sure that you have some good foundation here. Just wanted to say thanks. We recently hit 100 subscribers, and that's a big deal to me. May not be a big deal in the world of YouTube, but it certainly means a lot to me that you would subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, help us reach our next goal of 200 subscribers by subscribing today. I'm also not going to cover sales technique or approach. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Happy to put that together. I am a struggling, recovering salesperson of 20 plus years. I know a lot about it. I was always a reluctant salesperson. I happen to be pretty good at it. But I took a lot of bumps and bruises over my career that I'd be happy to share with you. So if it's something you'd want to see, let me know in the comments. Before you click off of this episode and you go, this doesn't apply to me, I just want you to know that this is applicable for companies regardless of where they currently sit in their stage. Example being, we have a company in our portfolio that only recently found out that their salespeople were not hitting their basic marks, their basic talking points, their basic process points within their sales efforts. And they were leaving a lot of money on the table. And what caught it was that they went back and they actually listened to calls and were able to tell which of their sales associates were and were not actually doing what they were supposed to be doing. And they weren't getting the basics right. So they fixed that. Their close rate is significantly higher than it used to be, up about 25% in a short period of time. And I expect it to be more than that over the next quarter. And the revenue is going to follow that as well. So let's jump into some of these foundational things that everybody can and should be doing in their sales processes. First, use a basic CRM. Do not go buy Salesforce or HubSpot and start there. Start with a much cheaper option. Start with something like a Nutshell, which is actually something that I've used in multiple businesses. I think it's like $80 a month for 2 users. You don't need a computer science degree to set it up. It's very easy to use, and it's just going to do the basic stuff that you need it to do, like lead capture, literally like this is the person's name, this is their company name, this is their email address. It will do some basic reporting for you. How many calls were made, how many contacts, what emails were sent. A lot of them now, including Nutshell, integrates with Gmail. So it can actually capture your outbound and inbound email. So you don't have to go and toggle between these different things. sales tracking in general, and we'll get a little bit into the basic process in just a second, but like where does each one of these opportunities land? Where does it currently sit? Super, super easy to set up, incredibly powerful to have access to that information. That sales process, I would recommend starting with, and you build this in one of these basic CRMs, prospect, sales qualified, which I'll explain more in a minute what that means, demo or discovery meeting, proposal, negotiation, closed, won, or lost. So all of those are 6 steps total, and one of which is kind of not really a step. It's really lead capture. So let me just walk through these very quickly. Prospect. This is literally somebody you want to call or think you should call. That is it. That is all. You don't have any other information on them necessarily. Maybe you're still doing research. They're just sitting in prospect. Sales qualified means that you have spoken with them or you have very credible evidence, data to believe that this is the right customer in the right industry for your product, based on your price point, based on your offer. They are likely to be qualified. If not, they have been qualified. And they stay in that spot until they stay in that process spot in your CRM, in your thinking, in your philosophy, until you have proven that they are sales qualified. Then demo and discovery meeting, that's pretty straightforward. Do you do product demos? Have you done that meeting? Do you do a discovery meeting where you're doing a deep dive with that customer to talk about, what their needs are, what their pain points are, how you're going to try and align your product's solutions to those pain points? Again, I'm not going to get into sales technique on this episode. Happy to do that in the future, but that's the point of that process, or that point of the process. Then you go into proposal. Pretty straightforward. You have sent a proposal. Once you have sent the proposal, then that potential customer, that lead, that prospect, however you want to qualify or name that thing, that opportunity, moves into proposal. Negotiation, again, straightforward. You're negotiating this. Once they're in negotiation, that's the stage that they go in. And then out of that negotiation, one of two things is going to happen. It's going to be won or it's going to be lost. Actually, a third part is they just stay in negotiation because for whatever reason, you can't get them out of negotiation. They just don't respond. They ghost you. We'll talk a little bit maybe in future episodes about what you do with those stock prospects. However, those are the basic processes. Again, this is where they sit in stages of your sales motion. So prospect, sales qualified, demo or discovery meeting, proposal, negotiation, and then they're either closed, won, or lost. So I can make the argument that's really 4 steps because I would eliminate prospect because that's just kind of very, very top of the funnel. Probably haven't even actually entered your sales process yet. And closed, won, or lost is just an output, right? Or just an outcome. So why do this? Why does this matter? A couple of things that come to mind immediately, which is to keep track of where you are in each opportunity, because you're going to be working on multiple opportunities simultaneously. Some are going to be early in the process, some are going to be later. It's going to remind you to do certain things if you aren't remembering that on your own. I don't recommend managing your sales process through email. It's a surefire way of missing something. Ask me how I know. You can deep dive into the sales motion itself. Where are deals stalling? Where are they failing? Where are they picking up speed? This allows you to make quick adjustments. Are my proposals too dense and they can't get through them? Are my demos ineffective and I'm losing people there? Am I not doing a good enough job of sales qualifying and I'm finding that out during the negotiation period and come to realize they can't buy for whatever reason? Those are things that you can look back on if you are doing these steps consistently and you're using a CRM in conjunction with that process. It'll allow you to make the adjustments you need to make. Now, the other basic thing that I think everybody should do, and I see people miss this step so often, and it's so easy to do, is to create a required activity forecast. That's a mouthful for basically saying how much of each thing, each activity do I need to do to reach a sales goal. So this is actually really straightforward. You start at the end and you work backwards or forwards. Backwards or forwards? I don't know. You start at the end and you set the goal of how much in dollars and cents your sales goal is for a period of time. You can do this quarterly. You can do this annually. I tend to recommend doing it annually because quarterly may be too short a period of time. And you would force you to do this 4 times a year as opposed to 1 time a year. But start with the end goal in mind. So if it's $1 million, it's $1 million. Then you start to figure out what is the average value of each sale. So when you make a sale, what is the revenue potential for each one of those sales? So let's say for the sake of math, it's 100,000. So that means you have $100,000 per sale in revenue. You want to make $1 million in total revenue booked. Simple math is that's 10 sales, right? Then you need to start working back to figure out what's your average rate of close one at the negotiation stage. Make this a ratio. So you may or may not know that. You may or may not know what your average contract value is. Just make your best educated guess because this is a forecasting tool anyway, and it's likely to be wrong to some degree, maybe as much as 50%, but it's significantly better than not having anything at all. So your average close rate at negotiation as a ratio. So how many deals do you have to negotiate to get one closed? That's usually worst case scenario, 2 to 1. You got a 50% close rate. It's more likely to be some fraction of that. So 1.25, 1.5, doesn't matter. Figure out what that ratio is. Then go back and say, how many proposals do you need to send to get one negotiation scheduled? So again, same thing, ratio. How many proposals to get to one negotiation? It's probably not 1 to 1. 2 proposals to get to one negotiation, again, I think is an outlier. It's more likely going to be somewhere in between 1 and 2, 1.5, 1.25, 1.75. And then how many discovery meetings or demos do you need to hold to get one proposal sent? So again, ratio, how many of those meetings to get one? Right? It's always a ratio of this many numbers to 1. And then how many sales qualifications to get to one demo or discovery meeting? Again, ratio. This may sound difficult when I'm just explaining it via audio or via me talking to a camera. But when you really lay this out on a piece of paper, it makes a lot of sense. And it helps you understand what is the workload in front of me to get to where I want to go. Because that's where we lose the plot most often in sales. We say, great, we're going to get $1 million in sales this year. And then people go, great, how are we going to do that? And go, well, we're going to sell a bunch of stuff. Cool. But if you don't understand how much you have to sell and what the inputs required from a ratio standpoint look like to get to that end goal, what you're going to find out 9 times out of 10 is you are grossly underestimating the amount of work you have to do at the top of the funnel. What do I mean by top of the funnel? How many leads you need, how many sales qualifications you need, how many demo meetings you have to do, how many negotiations, how many proposals. You will underestimate that 9 times out of 10. I've seen it happen almost every single time. And it doesn't get better when you look at the raw numbers. The top of the funnel numbers are likely to scare the hell out of you. That's okay. You can break it down into quarterly, monthly, weekly, and even daily bites to understand what your workload looks like. It also will help you figure out, do I have the labor to do this? Do I have enough sales resources to actually pull this off? If the answer is no, you've got 2 options. Hire more people or get more resources, or lower your expectations and your sales goals. It's really the only 2 options that you have. The last basic thing that everybody should do is to set up a monthly reporting and debrief cadence or rhythm. Creating the discipline early around that process. And it doesn't have to be a bloodletting. It doesn't have to be adversarial. Certainly, if you're not meeting your goals, there are opportunities to redirect in a positive and constructive way. But just think about some basic tracking mechanisms, metrics. Sales closed to goal. How did you do overall? So if your monthly goal of $1 million was 88,000 and change, let's just call it, did you hit your $88,000 for that month? It's a very binary answer, right? It's a yes or no. It's a 1 or a 0. And if the answer is no, why not? If the answer is yes, why? That's an important factor. Don't just look at the failures and deep dive on the failures. Figure out also why you're winning. For the same reason that you want to avoid failure, and so you want to understand that failure so you don't repeat those same things, is exactly true in the opposite end of the spectrum, which is I want to know why I won because I want to do more of that. So make sure that that's included in all of those things. When it's good, where did you overperform? When it's bad, where did you underperform? Where did the process let you down? Why? If you're not hitting your required activity forecast, why? Right? If the numbers are good, the numbers are bad and you're not hitting your required activity forecast, you got to ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I not doing the basic inputs that I've already lined out and mathematically have shown myself and everybody around me, this is what the input looks like, and you're not doing that? Well, that's a behavior correction that you have the opportunity to do, and you have to do it, and you can do it in a short period of time, not after the quarter's over, certainly not after the year's over. Can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. If you're doing it on a monthly basis, you can make those course corrections behaviorally, process, etc. Resources and gaps. Find out from your people, where do we have a gap in resources? What do I not have that I need to be more successful in sales? What gaps exist in our process, in our knowledge, and our capability? Have an open and honest discussion about that. Is there a piece of collateral that they need? Is the website wrong? Do we have outdated information floating around somewhere? Are we just not capitalizing on the opportunities? Do we not understand the market we're selling into or the industry that we're selling into? All of these things can kind of come out from your salespeople taking a second to come back to you and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I could use help with. And if you're a solopreneur, you need to figure out how to do this. And that means you need to have a conversation with a friend and role play this out, like you're having a meeting with a team, just so you can say these things out loud. You can hear yourself kind of think through it and solve for it in real time, then do that. This isn't something that is only for teams. This is something that everybody should do. Listen to calls together as a team or as individuals. This was the cringiest, hardest, most uncomfortable thing for me to do, both for myself and with my team. But I got over it because I learned to make it fun. You listen together as a team, or you listen for yourself. Maybe it's over an adult beverage. Maybe it's when you're in a really good mind space, or just you're really open to, being self-critical, or at least constructively. Find some great examples to pump yourself up, to pump the team up. Be like, man, just nailed this one. Unbelievable. This call just sizzled. It was so good. And then find some bad ones. Like you called them the wrong name, right? You mispronounced their company name. My best friend in the entire world worked for a very large company. I will not name by names because I don't want to call him out quite that specifically, but he was working with the German sneaker company that is actually pronounced Adidas. You'll know it as Adidas here in the United States. It is pronounced Adidas. He got on a business development call with Adidas, proceeded to call it Adidas for about 20 minutes before his German counterpart piped up and said, just so you know, it's pronounced Adidas. He still tells that story. It still makes me laugh. I'm a huge Adidas or Adidas fan. I think I'm actually wearing a pair right now. Anyway, good calls, bad calls, listen to them all. Keep it fun, keep it light, create peer-to-peer opportunities for your salespeople to tell their peers, hey, this is what I heard. This is what I've done that's been successful. Hey, I made that same mistake. There's a lot to be gained in that camaraderie and kind of that peer group. So try to maximize that if you can. So I know some of this may sound basic, maybe even too basic, but if I audited most companies, if I went in and I really looked at their sales process, and I have done this, they aren't doing this consistently. They wonder why they aren't hitting their goals. They aren't nailing the basics. They're not being consistent. you need to do those things. You need to nail the basics. You need to be consistent. You need to build this out over time. Don't try to do it all at once. Understand that this is a marathon and not a sprint. You can tweak this as you get bigger, as you get more sophisticated, as your sales process needs to be tweaked and get more sophisticated. You can do that over time. But this basic structure is going to get you pretty far. Think of yourself like a carpenter, not a painter. It's a lot of rough work. You'll refine it over time. You'll get it finished. You'll get it painted. You'll get it perfect. But right now, you're just trying to frame this house. You're trying to get it stood up. Do that. Do it well. Get it right. And then worry about the rest afterwards. Thanks for tuning into this episode. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.